The wind was cold that evening. Even though the planet's weather station said it was just another mild urban cycle, a teenage human boy, maybe 15 or 16, stood near the bus terminal, arms crossed, jacket too thin for the wind, face tired but calm. His name was Cal, and this busy alien city was not his home, but he had nowhere else to go. He had been on this planet, Virilia Prime, for almost 2 years, ever since the mining attack took his family on Earth. Cal had learned to survive among aliens. He didn't beg much, didn't steal either, he just stayed quiet, helped others when he could, and ate whatever food he found in trash bins or dropped on sidewalks. The terminal was full of travelers, some human, most not. Aliens of every shape, size, and color walked past him. Some glanced at Cal and looked away quickly. Others didn't notice him at all. Cal wasn't angry. He was used to being invisible. But then he saw someone who looked even more out of place than him. It was a tall alien with pale green skin, long limbs, and sharp purple eyes. The alien wore ragged clothes not suited for the cold, and carried no bag, no data pad, no ID chip, just confusion on his face. The alien walked to the bus scanner, touched it, and nothing happened. "Insufficient credits," the machine said in a robotic voice. The alien tried again, pressing harder as if that would help. "Insufficient credits," the machine repeated. Louder this time, people started to glance over. Cal tilted his head. Something was off. This alien didn't look like a beggar or a criminal. He looked strange, like he was pretending to be poor, but didn't know how to do it right. Still, the alien seemed lost, like he didn't know how the bus worked or what to do next. The guard near the gate frowned. His hand rested on a baton. "Move along," the guard growled. "No credits. No ride." The alien lowered his head. Those sharp eyes looked almost sad. Cal reached into his pocket and pulled out his last credit chip. It wasn't much, just enough for one bus fare and maybe a cheap snack later. He looked at the chip, then at the alien. His stomach growled softly. He walked over. "Hey," Cal said quietly. "I'll pay for him." The guard raised an eyebrow. "Kid, you sure?" Cal nodded. "Yeah, he just needs to get somewhere, right?" The guard shrugged. "Your credit." Cal placed the chip on the scanner. The machine beeped, green light flashing. "One fare accepted," it said. The alien blinked slowly and looked down at Cal. "You help me?" Cal nodded. "Yeah, it's cold." "You looked like you needed it." The alien didn't smile, but he tilted his head slightly, like he was trying to understand something deep inside his mind. He stepped onto the bus, still watching Cal. As the door began to close, the alien spoke one word in his own language. It sounded like a blessing, or maybe a name. Cal waved lightly, not understanding what it meant, and turned back toward the empty street. The bus pulled away, and the city swallowed it up in lights and sound. Cal stood there for a moment, rubbing his hands together to stay warm. He didn't feel like a hero or anything. He just thought, maybe someone will help me one day too. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that the alien he just helped wasn't just a lost traveler. That alien was Varutel, a high diplomat from the Zarnathi Coalition, one of the most powerful alliances in the galaxy. And Cal's small act of kindness had just started something that would change his life, and maybe even the fate of humans in this sector. Far away, deep in the city, the bus pulled into a private tunnel that led under a glowing tower. Varutel stepped off, guards waiting silently for him. He removed his ragged cloak and dropped it. "Begin trace," he said in a commanding voice. "Find the human boy who gave me his only coin." "But sir," a guard asked, "and why waste time on a street orphan?" Varutel looked toward the sky, where stars blinked like quiet witnesses. "Because," he said, he showed compassion when no one else did. The city of Virilia Prime never really slept. Its sky glowed with traffic lights, tower ads, and flying drones. But deep below, in the heart of the capital, a hidden base came to life. Varutel walked into a round chamber made of crystal and steel. He was no longer the lost, ragged alien from the bus station now. He wore a high-ranking diplomat's robe, dark silver with glowing blue lines down the sleeves. His sharp purple eyes were calm but focused. "Activate surveillance grid," he ordered. His voice echoed, and the round room responded. Lights flickered on the walls as images. Camera feeds and heat scans appeared in the air. "Show me the human boy who paid my fare," he said, staring at the main screen. The guards around him looked at each other in silence. One of them stepped forward. "Sir, the city is filled with humans. Most are unregistered." "We don't track street youth." "Then start now," Varutel interrupted. That boy gave me something rare, something no rank or title can buy, pure kindness. Meanwhile, Cal had no idea what was happening. He walked back to his hidden place behind an old repair shop. His spot was just a blanket under a metal sheet with a broken heater nearby. It wasn't much, but it was home. He sat down. His stomach still empty. He had no credits left. But something about helping the alien had made him feel, not proud exactly, but warm inside, as if the cold night had noticed him for the first time and decided to look away. He closed his eyes, hugging his knees, trying to sleep. Across the city, drones began scanning old alleys, market roads, even the rooftops. Facial recognition programs ran faster than light. Hundreds of images flashed every second, looking for one single face. The face of a boy no one had cared about until now. Back in the chamber, a soft beep caught everyone's attention. Match found, the system announced. A fuzzy image appeared on the screen. A human boy, thin, wrapped in a torn jacket, standing at the bus terminal, hands offering a credit chip to the scanner. That's him, Varutel whispered. Zoom in. The boy's face filled the screen. Eyes steady, expression calm, not scared or greedy, just kind. Prepare a location team, Varutel said. We approach with care, no weapons drawn. No fear given. One of the guards raised a question. Sir, permission to ask, why is this human boy so important to you? Varutel paused. Because in a world where power means everything, this boy had nothing, yet chose to give. That kind of heart is the only thing that can't be trained, bought or faked. As the team prepared, Cal wandered into the nearby district. He visited a sick woman who used to live 2 alleys down, gave her his only blanket, then helped a child climb down a broken ladder. Cal didn't do these things for reward. He did them because no one else would. He didn't know that high above, several drones were tracking his movements now, silently recording every step, every kind action. Feeding the footage back to the diplomat's chamber, Varutel watched in silence. Something in his chest, something old and forgotten, stirred. I want to meet him myself, he said quietly. No guards, no ships. Just me, but sir, one aide replied nervously. Your presence in public without escort is risky, especially in human-populated zones. Varutel smiled slightly. That's what he did. Took a risk for someone he didn't know. It's time I returned the gesture. Night turned into early morning, the sky shifting from black to dark purple. Cal sat on a rooftop, watching the first transport ships rise into the sky. Their engines hummed like slow music. He liked this moment. The city was quiet, and for a few minutes, he could imagine he was somewhere else, somewhere peaceful. He didn't hear the soft steps behind him. He didn't notice the figure approaching, until a voice deep and gentle spoke from the shadows. You gave me your last coin, the voice said. Why? Cal turned, ready to run, but stopped. It was the alien from the bus station, but now he stood tall, powerful and glowing slightly under the rising sun. Cal blinked, unsure what to say. You looked like you needed it. Varutel stepped closer, kneeling down so they were eye to eye. You didn't ask who I was, or what I could give you, you just helped. That's rare. Cal shrugged. Didn't think about it much, Varutel smiled gently. Then allow me to return the favor. From behind him, a small hoverpod rose up, opening slowly. Inside were warm clothes, fresh food, and a data pad loaded with credits. Cal's mouth opened slightly. Confused, why are you doing this? Varutel looked toward the city skyline. Because I'm not just a stranger, I'm someone with the power to reward what others ignore. He looked back at Cal. And today, I choose you. Long before he stepped onto Virelia Prime, Cal was just a boy with a dream and a family. He grew up on Earth, in a small mining colony near the asteroid belts. His father was a digger. His mother worked at the comms tower. They weren't rich, but they laughed often. Cal remembered the sound of his mother's voice when she sang in the kitchen, and the way his father's boots echoed through the metal halls when he came home. Then came the attack. No one saw it coming. A rogue pirate group bombed the colony for resources. Buildings fell, airlocks blew open, and people vanished into the void. Cal was at school when it happened. He watched the fire from behind thick windows, too far to reach his home, too close to ever forget the screams. He was rescued days later, covered in dust, alone. He never found his parents' bodies, only silence where their names used to be. He was sent off-world with other orphaned kids. But the transport broke down on Virelia Prime. Most of the children were adopted, placed, or transferred. Cal wasn't. He slipped through the cracks, too quiet, too independent, too forgotten, so he survived on his own. He learned to avoid trouble, to find food others threw away, to sleep with one eye open and one hand near a pipe. He found a broken heater in the back of a recycling shop and made it home. His neighbors were rats, broken bots, and a blind alien named Tika who played old music on a rusted violin. Cal never complained. He helped Tika fix her violin strings, shared his bread with a street dog missing one leg, and taught smaller kids how to stay warm using foil wrappers from vending machines. The streets didn't love him, but they respected him. To Cal, kindness was not a choice. It was armor. It didn't make him weaker. It made him feel human, even when everything else in the city told him he wasn't important. Now walking beside Varutel, he felt strange. The tall alien's long steps were smooth, his clothes rich, his presence magnetic, yet he treated Cal as an equal. Varutel had offered him clean clothes, hot food, and a ride to his floating tower. But Cal had one request first. "I need to check on someone," Cal said. They stopped at a narrow street filled with broken signs and flickering lights. Varutel followed without question. They turned corners, climbed over broken fences, and entered a dark alley where music played softly. Tika sat there, her head bobbing to the violin's broken notes. When she heard Cal's voice, her wrinkled face brightened. "Cal," she smiled, "I saved you half a muffin." Cal gently placed a warm meal in her lap. "Not today, Tika, you eat?" Varutel watched quietly. He said nothing, but inside something stirred. This boy, this street survivor, chose to feed others before feeding himself. Again, as they walked back toward the edge of the alley, a group of small children ran up. "Cal, Cal!" "The guards came again last night, took Marla." Cal's eyes narrowed. "She's just 8. They said she stole a can of soup," the smallest boy whispered. Varutel stepped forward. "Where did they take her?" The kid stared, unsure who he was. Cal looked up. "He's a friend, you can trust him." The kids hesitated, then pointed toward a holding camp near the factory zone. Without another word, Varutel pressed a button on his wristband. "Send a diplomatic vehicle to the coordinates," he said, "and contact Varelia Authority. Tell them the Zarnathi Coalition demands the release of a human child detained without hearing." Cal blinked. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did," Varutel said. "Because you would have walked there barefoot to save her, wouldn't you?" Cal looked down, then nodded. They stood quietly for a moment, the city buzzing far above them. Between a powerful diplomat and a forgotten human boy, something unspoken passed between them. Trust not built on money or power, but on the shared understanding that kindness meant more than titles. "I know this place," Cal said softly, looking up at the concrete jungle. Every crack, every shortcut, every hiding spot. Varutel turned to him. "Then help me see it the way you do. Help me understand your world, so I can change it." Cal didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. As they left the alley and stepped onto a busy road, cameras hidden in the sky kept following them. But this time they weren't looking for a criminal. They were documenting something far more dangerous to the old powers of the galaxy. A human boy rising, not by force, but through honor. The next morning came quietly, like it was holding its breath. Cal sat at the edge of a sky bridge, looking down at the city below. His clothes were cleaner now. His face rested, but his heart was not calm. Everything felt unreal. One day he was sleeping under metal sheets, and the next, a powerful alien diplomat was treating him like royalty. He didn't ask for attention. He never wanted it. He only wanted to survive. Behind him, the air shimmered as a hovercraft gently landed. Varutel stepped out, followed by 2 guards in long, dark robes. They didn't carry weapons, only respect. Varutel handed Cal a data card. "This is your formal invitation," he said, "to the Galactic Embassy Hall. The council will meet there today. I want them to meet you." Cal frowned. "Meet me? Why?" Varutel didn't smile this time. "Because they've forgotten what kindness looks like, and you reminded me." Cal stood up, holding the data card loosely. "I'm just a street kid." "No," Varutel said. "You're the reason I'm standing here. Not as a politician, but as someone who remembers what it means to care." Cal shook his head slowly. "You don't get it, these people. Your people don't care about humans. They look at us like dust, I've seen it." Varutel paused, then nodded. "You're right, and I won't lie to you. Some of them may even hate that I'm bringing you in. But that's why you must come." Cal looked away. "Let me think." He didn't say no, but he didn't say yes either. That night, Cal returned to his street. not as a runaway, but as someone with a decision to make. He sat on the cold rooftop of Tika's place, trying to ignore the fear growing inside him. Not fear of the aliens, but fear of hope. Hope was dangerous. It made you believe you could belong again. Just then, a sound behind him, a soft hum. Cal turned fast, ready to defend, but stopped. It wasn't a guard, it was a girl, young like him, maybe a bit older. Her skin had a golden glow. Her eyes were violet and shaped like crescent moons. She wore a simple cloak and stood barefoot on the metal rooftop. Her presence was calm but sharp, like a breeze that could cut stone. "I'm Leora," she said gently. "I'm his daughter." Cal narrowed his eyes. "Barutel's?" She nodded. "He sent me to ask, not as a diplomat, but as a father. He didn't want to pressure you." Cal folded his arms. "Why does he care so much? I just gave him a bus fare." Leora stepped closer. "Because no one else did." That one gesture told him there is still light left in this galaxy. Cal looked down at the glowing invitation in his hand. "It's too much, I understand," she said softly. "I know what it's like to be ignored. I live in towers. But I've walked these streets in disguise for years, watching, learning. Hiding from those who expect me to be perfect." Cal raised an eyebrow. "You? Hiding?" Leora smiled faintly. "I once paid for a human girl's medicine and got told I had weakened the bloodline. We're not so different. You and I." They sat together in silence, two souls from different worlds, joined by a crack in the system they both refused to accept. Then Cal asked something unexpected. "If I say yes, can you promise something?" Leora turned to him. "What?" "That the food packs you showed me yesterday, the ones with clean water, can you send them to the street kids near the South Market?" "They need it more than I do." Leora blinked, then nodded. "I promise." Cal stood up, holding the card tighter now. "Then I'll come. But not because I want to be a guest, I'll come because I want to be heard." She smiled fully now. "That's exactly what my father hoped for." Moments later, a sleek air car lifted them both into the sky, leaving behind the alleys, the shadows, and the silence that had hidden Cal for so long. But even as he flew toward the brightest halls in the galaxy, something darker moved below, far beneath the city. In a secure underground meeting room, a different conversation was happening. "He's a street rat," a voice growled. "And that Zarnathi fool is putting him in front of the council?" Another voice, colder and older, responded. "The humans grow bolder when given attention. This boy must be." Silenced, a third voice chuckled. "Or perhaps discredited. After all, it's easy to smear a boy with no past." They all agreed with a simple nod. A shadow left the room silently, sent to ensure that Cal never speaks before the council, no matter what the diplomat planned. The car hummed softly through the air, smooth and silent, just like everything else on the wealthy side of the sky. Cal sat quietly beside Leora, staring out the window below him. The city he knew, its cracks, its cold corners, its smell of metal and smoke, looked like a map from a dream. He never imagined flying over it, not like this. Not in a seat warmer than any bed he'd ever slept in. His hands were clean now, but they shook slightly. His heart wasn't ready for the place they were headed. The golden halls of the Galactic Embassy, a place where humans weren't usually welcome unless they were servants or, worse, prisoners. But this time, one of them was entering with an invitation. Leora sensed his silence. "You're not alone anymore, Cal," she said gently. He gave a small nod but didn't speak. Deep inside, he wasn't afraid of the people in the gold towers. He was afraid of hoping too much. Afraid this would vanish like a dream when he woke up. The sky opened above them as the car approached the embassy. It wasn't a building. It was a floating structure that shimmered like sunlight trapped in glass. Spires curved like waves, and gravity itself bent gently around it. The car landed on a soft pad made of glowing stone. A group of officials stood waiting, not with frowns. Not with guns, but with calm respect. Cal stepped out, eyes wide, feeling like he'd landed on another planet inside. The walls weren't just gold. They were alive, shifting softly like sand under glass. Symbols from 1,000 worlds glowed on every panel. Creatures of all shapes moved gracefully through the halls, many wearing robes, some armored, all watching. And in the middle of it all walked Cal, a boy from the streets in borrowed shoes. With dirt still hiding under his nails, Barutel approached, dressed in a ceremonial robe of deep silver. "You came," he said with warmth. Cal nodded. "I said I would." Barutel stepped aside. "There's someone I'd like you to meet first." He led Cal into a private chamber. Less shiny, more quiet. A tall human woman stood inside, her uniform crisp. Her face looked tired, but her eyes lit up when she saw Cal. "Name's Commander Arlen," she said, shaking his hand. "I oversee human resettlement on Veralia Prime. Or at least I'm supposed to." Cal tilted his head. "You're with the government?" "Kind of," she said. "Mostly I write reports no one reads about human kids going missing. You're the first to get this far, Cal. You're not just a boy. They're starting to call you a symbol." "A symbol of what?" he asked. "Of what happens when we don't disappear quietly," she replied. Before Cal could answer, the room shook just slightly. Like a breath had passed through the walls. A warning light blinked above them. Security bots moved silently into the hallway outside. Varutel frowned and touched his communicator. "Report!" a voice came back, low and urgent. "Unauthorized motion detected near human guest's entrance route. Intruder escaped before capture." Varutel's eyes hardened. "It started already." Cal looked between them. "What's going on?" Commander Arlen stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Some powerful people don't want a human boy at this meeting, especially one who didn't come through their system. You embarrassed them by just existing." Varutel turned to Cal. "That's why you must speak. You have to show them you're not a mistake. You're a mirror, showing what they've become." Cal nodded slowly. "But I'm not a speaker. I don't know what to say in front of aliens with glowing skin and 1,000 titles." "You don't need to speak their language," Leora said softly as she entered. "Just speak your truth. That's more powerful than any title." Moments later, Cal was led into the main chamber. 1,000 eyes turned toward him. Rows of floating seats hovered around a circular platform. Each seat held a representative from a different species, and at the center was a single podium. Meant for speakers of importance, the air was thick with tension. Some laughed quietly when they saw him. Others whispered in sharp tones. One reptilian alien leaned forward and said coldly, "Is this a joke? You bring us a street rat and call it diplomacy?" But Cal didn't back away. He stepped forward slowly, feet unsure but heart steady. He stood at the center, small but tall in spirit. Then he took a breath, remembering the cold nights, the children he fed, the violin songs of Tika, and the warm smile of Leora. And then he spoke. But just as he opened his mouth, a blinding flash lit up the hall. Screams echoed. Guards rushed in. Someone had thrown a disruptor grenade, not to kill, but to silence. As the dust settled, Varutel shouted, "Protect the boy!" And somewhere in the shadows, someone smiled, knowing their plan had just begun. Smoke curled through the golden chamber, soft but sharp, like a whisper of war hiding behind silk curtains. Cal's ears rang, and the shimmering lights above the embassy flickered as drones circled overhead. Screams echoed, not in panic, but in confusion. The grenade hadn't exploded with fire. It had released a blinding white pulse, a message, not a murder. Guards rushed in with energy shields and glowing batons. But whoever had thrown the device was already gone. Cal stood frozen, blinking as shadows moved fast around him. Varutel's guards formed a wall in front of him, their armor now glowing with emergency defense runes. Someone wanted to silence Cal, but they hadn't expected him to still be standing in the upper seats. One alien with gold-plated scales chuckled and leaned toward a fellow council member. "A child causes more trouble than 10 armies. Another nodded coldly. "This boy is not a threat, but what he represents is..." Varutel stepped forward and raised his voice, calm but sharp. "Enough. This act of cowardice proves what we already know. Some among us fear truth more than weapons." He turned to Cal. "Still slightly shaken? Are you all right?" Cal nodded slowly, rubbing his eyes. "Yeah, I wasn't expecting fireworks." Leora appeared beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to do this if it's too much." But Cal took a deep breath and stepped back to the podium. "No," he said, voice quiet but steady. "If someone tried to shut me up, then maybe I really do have something worth saying." The chamber went still. Cal looked around at the faces, some alien, some half-human, all watching him like a creature from a forgotten world. "I don't have the right words," he began. "I didn't go to school in gold towers. I don't own a suit or a title." He paused. "I lived in the streets. I ate food thrown away. I slept where rats slept. I helped when I could. Even if it meant going hungry, I gave my last coin to a stranger because I knew what it felt like to be ignored." He looked directly at the council. "And if that kindness made people uncomfortable, maybe it's because you forgot how it feels to have nothing and still give everything for a moment." No one moved. Then someone began to clap, not loud, but slow, deliberate. It was Commander Arlen, the human official. Her hands echoed like thunder in the quiet hall. Then Leora joined, then a few others, and then silence again, as the larger council still refused to react. But up in the shadows, hidden in the tech ducts, someone watched through red-tinted lenses. He had failed. The grenade didn't break the boy's spirit. It made him louder, stronger, seen. He tapped a tiny comm link in his ear. Phase 1 failed. He spoke, a voice replied in a low growl, then proceed to Phase 2 meanwhile. Cal was being escorted to a private room after the speech. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from the weight of eyes that had finally seen him. As they entered the room, Varutel sighed in relief. You did it. Cal shook his head. No, I just said what I've lived. That shouldn't be special. It is, Varutel said. More than you know. But their moment of peace was short-lived. Outside, emergency lights lit up the embassy's main tower. A security chief entered quickly. We found a symbol left behind at the detonation site, an old war emblem. He placed a projection on the table, and Leora gasped. It was a mark from a military shadow group, long thought disbanded, one that believed in species purity, and considered humans a temporary mistake in galactic development. Why now? Leora whispered. Because Cal's kindness, Varutel said slowly, just became more dangerous than their hate. Cal leaned forward, eyes narrowing. So, they want me gone? Varutel looked at him, proud and calm. They want you erased. But instead, we'll make you impossible to forget. Just then, the door hissed open. A new figure stepped in, covered in shadows, face hidden under a diplomat's hood, but Cal felt it instantly. The air shifted, the energy turned sharp. His instincts from the street screamed danger. The figure spoke, voice like ice. I come to offer Cal a relocation package. Varutel turned, face tight. We did not request relocation. But we did, said a new voice, the Earth ambassador. Entering from the other side of the room, Cal blinked, confused. Wait. Earth sent someone? The ambassador smiled, but something was wrong, too smooth, too quiet. Yes, Cal, and I'm afraid your presence here has stirred tension. We believe it's best you return home for your safety. Cal stepped back, eyes narrowing. Or is it for your comfort? No one answered. In that moment, Cal understood. Not everyone wanted to kill him. Some simply wanted him to disappear in a nice, quiet, official way. And Cal had to make a decision, fight for the truth, or vanish back into the streets he came from. He looked at Varutel, at Leora, then at the two diplomats who now viewed him as a problem to solve. His jaw tightened. I'm not going anywhere. And just like that, the fight wasn't about a coin or a speech anymore. It was about who gets to be heard and who gets erased. The room fell into silence after Cal's final words. I'm not going anywhere, he had said. The Earth ambassador blinked, clearly not expecting defiance from a boy who just weeks ago slept on cardboard and ate from trash bins. The other figure, the one from the shadow group, slipped out without a word. But everyone noticed the tension he left behind. Varutel stood beside Cal, taller, older, wiser, but in that moment, even he knew this battle was not his to lead. It belonged to Cal now, later that evening. The council chambers buzzed with emergency meetings, debates, and rushed communications. Some members demanded increased security. Others wanted investigations. But one thing was clear. A human boy had changed the conversation, not by force or technology, but by simply being good in a place that had forgotten what goodness looked like. Outside, the city was already reacting. Clips of Cal's speech had leaked. People, human and alien alike, were sharing his words across galactic feeds. Some called him a threat, others a hero. But no one was ignoring him anymore. At the shelter near the South Market, the children Cal used to care for sat huddled around a dusty screen, their eyes wide as they watched their friend standing tall in front of glowing officials and floating cameras. One of the younger girls whispered, That's Cal. He used to fix my shoes in the slums of Aurelia Prime. A woman named Tika put down her violin for the first time in years and just smiled back in the embassy. Cal sat on a balcony, legs dangling off the edge. The stars above seemed closer here, brighter, less lonely. Leora joined him. Carrying 2 mugs of warm broth, she handed him one and sat beside him. You made them listen, she said. I didn't mean to, Cal replied. I just couldn't stay quiet anymore. That's how every change begins, she whispered. Suddenly, the doors behind them opened with a hiss. Varutel stepped through, this time holding a formal scroll, a rare object in a world of holograms and chips. "I have something for you," he said. Cal turned confused. "What's that?" Varutel unrolled the scroll slowly. "It's the highest civilian honor granted by the Zarnathi Coalition. Usually it's given to diplomats, scientists, or battle heroes," he paused. "But today, it goes to you." Cal stood up slowly. "Me? Why?" Varutel looked him in the eyes. "Because in a galaxy full of power, you proved that kindness is still the most powerful thing we have. You didn't just change me. Cal, you reminded everyone what courage really looks like." He placed the scroll in Cal's hands. "And one more thing," Varutel said, holding out a small badge. It shimmered with the emblem of two hands touching, one human, one alien. "You are now officially appointed as human liaison for cross-species welfare. It's a mouthful, but it means you'll help bridge the gap between humans and the rest of us." Cal stared at it, speechless. "But I'm just a kid," Varutel smiled gently. "Exactly, and that's what makes it so powerful. You represent those without power, without protection. You speak for them because you were one of them." Tears filled Cal's eyes, but he blinked them back. He accepted the badge not with pride, but with quiet responsibility. Later that week, the city held its first unity procession, not led by politicians or generals, but by Cal, walking hand in hand with Leora and 3 street children from the shelters. No guards, no weapons, just people. As they walked through the busy streets, people cheered, not for power, but for compassion. Drones flew overhead, broadcasting the event live, and billions watched across the stars. Some still doubted. Others still feared, but many began to believe that maybe, just maybe, this human boy was the beginning of something better. Far away in the deepest part of space, a lonely planet flickered with life again as hope returned to its people. Because Cal's story had reached them too. In his old alley, someone had spray-painted a mural. It showed a boy offering a coin to an alien, and beneath it, someone wrote in glowing paint, "He had nothing but gave everything," and across the stars, people remembered his name not as a homeless boy, but as the one who stood in gold halls and refused to be erased.